Hi everyone, welcome to Mr. H on YouTube, and today we're going to be talking about the European theater of World War II. We'll start with the Polish invasion and go all the way through to the Battle of Stalingrad, going in a general overview of how the Germans went on to conquer a gigantic land empire during the beginning of World War II. So if you haven't already, go ahead and like and subscribe to Mr. H on YouTube for more videos on Soul Studies. Let's get into it. September 1st, 1939, Hitler and the German army declare war on Poland. This is the beginning of what is known as the Blitzkrieg. Blitzkrieg comes from the term lightning warfare. It is a combination of aerial, tank, and fast, heavy assault. Basically, it means that the Germans were able to overrun the Polish defenses relatively quickly. Within a month, Warsaw and the rest of Poland's major cities had fallen to the German army, along with Soviet occupation as they come in from the east side. This invasion of Poland kicks off World War II with both the British and French declaring war on Germany on September 3rd, 1939. As the conflict continues, Hitler continues to spread out his forces and relatively easily overwhelm the Polish defenses. Britain and France were unable to really attack any meaningful attack on Germany during this early part of the war. What comes afterwards is a relatively small stalemate in which the Soviets take the eastern half of Poland, the Germans take the western half of Poland, and it begins a 6-month period known as the Phony War, in which neither side attacks each other. It was called the Phony War because people thought that this would just really just keep going on, that there really wasn't an attack. However, this was really Hitler's time of consolidating his forces and getting ready to attack Western Europe. And the Phony War ends in early 1940 with Hitler's attack on both Denmark and Norway. Great Britain moves to try to take back Norway, including occupying neutral Norwegian ports, but this is an abject failure. The Germans are able to overwhelm the defenses of both the Danes and the Norwegians and push the Allied forces out of Northern Europe. Sweden stays neutral, but other than that, most of Norway and Denmark are quickly occupied by the German army. Superior speed and armor capabilities really showcase just the advantage that the Germans had against the Western allies. This, of course, culminates in Hitler's greatest military triumph, with what the occupation of France. The French had created a line of defense on the border with Germany, and so a nifty solution for Hitler was to go around that defense. This is the famous going around through the Ardennes forest, violating the neutrality of Netherlands, Belgium, and Luxembourg. None of the Low Countries are able to hold off the Germans for more than a week. Occupied France will eventually... the southern part of France will eventually become what's called the Vichy France, but the German victory in France was a combination of speed and also terrible generalship on the side of the French forces. The French were unable to mobilize their troops to fight against the counterattack. They were not expecting an attack from the north, and Germany is able to sweep in and quickly surround. This leads to several important factors. For instance, the famous rescue at Dunkirk, where British forces were able to successfully row and take civilian ships from Dunkirk to Great Britain, therefore saving the majority of the British army for future war. This was done in no small part to the sacrifice that the French army took when they stayed behind, for the most part, to hold off the Nazi forces. By the time of 1941, Germany was in true masterful command of the majority of Western and Central Europe. And Hitler truly thought to himself that it would be over. The war with the West was won, and that he could go on to his overall goal of attacking the Soviets. This, of course, does not happen. The British, under the leadership of Prime Minister Winston Churchill, decide to continue to fight on. His famous "We will fight them on the beaches, we will fight them on the landing ground" speech after the rescue at Dunkirk. It becomes a rallying cry to the British people. Hitler then decides to launch what's known as Operation Sea Lion, which was his plan of attacking the British Isles through both air attacks and then eventually landing. The Battle of Britain commences over the summer in 1940, and for the most part, the war is a aerial war, where the Luftwaffe, the German Air Force, competes against and fights against the British Army. This is a victory for the British, and eventually what ends up winning the battle for the British is their superior air power and also radar systems. With Britain defeated, with Germany defeated in the Battle of Britain, Hitler looks to leave Britain behind in his rear and begin to attack the Soviets, his long-awaited war against the Soviet Union. This leads to what's known as Operation Barbarossa. This was one of the largest attacks in military history, in a line that stretched from the Baltic Sea all the way down to the Black Sea. The Germans and their Axis allies made a general advance across Soviet territory. This completely caught Stalin, the dictator of the Soviet Union, completely off guard. The battle raged throughout the summer as Soviet forces continued to retreat from the German onslaught. There was only truly a brief respite for the Soviets once winter falls in, and the Germans are unable really to attack further due to the harsh climate of the Russian winter. And of course, it ends on the banks of the Volga, going closer both to Stalingrad and to Moscow. But the situation we see at the beginning of 1942 really is Germany at the zenith of its power, with the occupation of Western Europe and Central Europe. And the defeat of the Soviets seems to be imminent, and then the destruction of the the British forces coming. But of course, that's not what's going to happen. But next time, when we talk about the European theater, we will talk about the Battle of Stalingrad and the turning point of the Nazi war and the eventual defeat of the German army. But what do you think? If you have a question about a specific country that I didn't get to in this overview, go ahead and leave a comment or question below. And don't forget to like and subscribe to Mr. H on YouTube for more videos like this. Hope you guys have a great day. Bye-bye.